Hi everyone, how are you doing? So I'm going to do a video series for you over the next few weeks on some Qigong exercises called the 8 brocades. And this is a series of exercises that can be used for gentle stretching, breathing, relaxation. Now, what is Qigong? Qigong is a Chinese breath therapy which was developed a long time ago, some would say thousands of years ago, by basically the Buddhist monks, different Taoists, so different types of people throughout the history of China. And they brought it all together into a health system which includes stretching. So a lot of it can be very similar to something like yoga, but it also has differences as well. And a lot of it, which I really like actually, is the fact that you can do a lot of the meditative movements like Tai Chi, standing up and moving, which sometimes is more practical for, especially in the modern world where you can't necessarily, sort of sit down on the floor cross-legged and just do meditation. And a lot of people struggle with that anyway because it can be very uncomfortable. So there's lots of benefits to doing the Qigong or the Dao Yin. So, I mean, obviously, if you want to learn a little bit more, you can Google that and sort of find out a little bit more about it. But I won't dwell on that today because I want to get straight into an exercise and keep this video nice and short and neat for you. So, first of all, what I would like to do before we even move into the individual exercise, sort of our first video, is I just want to introduce you to breathing itself, okay? We all do it all the time. More than 3-4 minutes without oxygen obviously can kill us, right? But it's not very often that we actually stop and think about breathing. Now, the ancient Chinese, the ancient sort of Indian and different early civilizations actually really focused on this as sort of a longevity exercise to improve health, but it's definitely been forgotten by the Western world for a long time. But finally now we're seeing a lot of really interesting research on breath therapy and the importance of it, and it's actually becoming fairly popular and almost fashionable now, which is absolutely fantastic. And you're seeing it in different ways, in different sort of words that are coming out across the internet, different people talking about. Some of it might be mindfulness. You might hear things like Tai Chi as it gets more and more popular. Definitely yoga, obviously, is already very well known for it, and probably one of the ones that really made it mainstream. But sometimes, obviously, doing a yoga class might take 30 minutes. You might struggle with some of the exercises, the mobility, especially if you've got injuries or certain disabilities. So the beauty of doing some of the basic breathing exercises is that you can do it anywhere in a very short space of time, as many times as you want, and you feel great for it. And the modern research really suggests now, in fact doesn't suggest, has proven there are huge benefits to breathing in terms of stress reduction, in terms of actually helping the blood become more pH in a sort of very acidic lifestyle that we have now with the foods that we eat and the toxins that are around us. So that can help balance the sort of blood pH levels. Hormone response in terms of reduction of stress hormones and stress markers in the blood. What else are we looking at? Immune improvement, immune function improvement, obviously respiratory and lung improvement if you have things like respiratory conditions like asthma. There's loads and loads of health benefits to it, and mainly just being able to relax and kind of understand your body a little bit better and educate yourself as well, which is really cool. So that's what I want to focus on today. I'll get cracking now with that. Just a little introduction about why you might want to actually include this into your sort of daily habits, or doing it a few times a week, or just when you feel really stressed. All right, so let's have a look at this. So what I want to do to start with is I just want to explain a little bit about what we normally do. We normally breathe very shallow, okay? And as we get more and more stressed, when we get into that sort of fight or flight response, that kind of level of sort of breathing in our sort of top of our lungs, a shallow breathing, gets worse. And that can actually start to really impact on things like anxiety as well. So if we breathe more shallowly, that actually starts to have more of an impact on our mental anxiety. And we might not even realize that that's actually sometimes just what's causing it, because it becomes habitual. The breathing becomes habitual and our body just starts to breathe that way. Okay, so that means our breathing becomes faster. And what we want to do is we want to start to slow the breathing down, and we want to become more controlled, because it actually has an immediate impact on our body in terms of relaxation. So again, you know, if you're in a sort of fight or flight stressful response, taking a few big breaths before you respond to something, if you're angry or stressed, can be really beneficial. So let's have a look at that. So I'm just going to move back. So what we're going to do, you can do this seated, but the beauty of doing it standing is or lying down would be better as well on our backs. But for me, I'm going to do it standing for you today. It's much easier to present the exercise. Is we're looking at actually using what's called diaphragmatic breathing. And in Qigong or Daoyin, sometimes they call it 3-section breathing, because they kind of break the body up into 3 sections, which should be sort of the abdomen down here, the stomach. And then the sort of area like the lower lungs, where your sort of solar plexus might be, where the ribs join together in that little V here. And then obviously the top of the lungs here, which is where most people kind of actually breathe into. Now, when I say breathing into the belly, obviously we're not actually breathing air into the belly, because it's filling the lungs, and the lungs only come so far down. But actually, diaphragmatic breathing is the right way to breathe, and it's the natural way to breathe, which means that our belly actually expands, because as we fill the lungs with air, what happens is our diaphragm, to do that, pushes down. And that makes more space in the chest cavity for the lungs to expand. And then as that goes back up, it obviously helps push the air back out again. So that's our breathing muscle, is our diaphragm. Okay. The other advantage of this, if we do this diaphragmatic breathing, is as we breathe in, it pushes this muscle down. It actually then starts to move the internal organs. So again, in Chinese medicine and again in modern medicine, they can show that that actually then can help stimulate digestion. It actually starts to massage the organs a little bit as well. All right. So what we want to start to do, and again in this modern society it's deemed sort of bad to have like a sort of rounded belly, but when you see children in really good physical shape, they've got a great diet, they're moving all the time, and they're really healthy. If you see them relaxed, they don't have this sort of flat sucked in tummy. When they're relaxed, their tummy just naturally rounds a little bit. But because of this kind of way that we perceive we should be fit, we should have this six-pack, people spend a lot of time just sort of breathing and pulling their stomach in, because they become very self-conscious that that's how they think they should look. But naturally, when we're relaxed, we should have our shoulders back and our stomach should be relaxed, and that might mean that it just basically is slightly round, and that's absolutely fine. And that's what we want to do in this breathing exercise. We want to start to really try to actually push the belly out and round it, because as we do that, that's going to make more space for the organs to move into that, and that means our diaphragm can push down further. It can also then mean that we get more air into our lungs, and that's what we're looking to do with these breathing exercises. We're trying to maximize the amount of air we can get into our lungs, so we really get right down into the depths of the lungs. We start to really get air into the bronchioles, the little parts of our lungs where we might get fluid buildup and they might become sticky because we never really get down there, especially if you smoked or done something like that before. You can really get into the bottom of the lungs and start to work them and clear things out of the lungs and make the lungs much more effective. Cool. So for the standing exercise then, what I want you to do is just have a comfortable stance. And that might be sort of wider than shoulder width, and you can also work on a little bit of leg strength, isometric strength, like you'd see the Shaolin monks or martial arts do, where they sort of hold these deep postures. You can do it this way as well, as long as it means you can keep good posture and you can focus on the breathing. But for now, stay nice and relaxed. So I might be shoulder width or slightly wider. My knees are bent and soft, so I'm just sitting comfortably into my stance. Now, the 3-section breathing, you can almost imagine it's filling up like you're filling a water barrel, okay? And the water barrel fills from the top, just like as you breathe in, it fills from the bottom, and it comes up to the middle section, and then to the top section until we can't get any more air in. And at that moment, straight away, we then breathe out, and that drains the barrel of water, in this case, obviously air, all the way back down to the bottom of our stomach again. And that's what we're looking to do, is expand the stomach first. Then we're looking to try and see, obviously we can't really expand the bottom of the lungs that much, but we're trying to at least think about doing it, be mindful of doing that. And then the top of the lungs, so we're getting a full breath, and then we're breathing out and we're emptying from the top to the middle to the bottom. And you can see I'm moving my hands. The reason why I'm doing this is these are going to be like, to start with, my physical cues, so I can actually have a little bit of pressure and push against it with each section of my body as I fill up. And that'll physically help you kind of visualize that and push against it to make sure you're filling up the right sections. I really encourage you to do that to start with, at least. Good few weeks until it becomes natural, and then you can just do the exercise. And that's when we'll bring in the other Qigong exercises that we're talking about anyway. Awesome. So let's do this together. So here, this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to show you. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to show you my hand movements and the breathing, and you'll know as I'm breathing in because I'll start to move my hands up. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to show you that from the side. I'm going to come a little bit closer. Hopefully then you can see my stomach and my chest rising, okay? So I hope you can see what's happening there. And also you should be noticing a couple of things. One is I'm breathing through my nose as I breathe in, and I'm breathing out through my mouth, and I'm actually making a bit of a sound with my mouth as I breathe out. The reason for that is what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to breathe in really steadily and slowly with the same tempo. So I'm not looking to do this big like, and then I kind of get to here and I run out of breath and I'm holding my breath, because guess what? If we hold our breath like this, especially as a beginner, later we can hold our breath in a calm way, and that can be quite very beneficial for us. But if we're holding it in this kind of gaspy way, then that's that fight or flight response again. If we feel stressed, what do? We go, okay, we don't want to do that. So what we're trying to do is breathe in slowly. So I'll breathe in here. Breathe out. It's smooth. I don't hold my breath at the bottom. I don't hold my breath at the top. As soon as I get to the top and I run out of breath, I start to breathe out. Nice and slow, nice and steady. As soon as I get to the bottom again, and I can't empty my lungs of any more air, then I start to breathe in immediately. So you've got this really nice, smooth cycle of breath that's going round and round, nice and steady, nice and smooth. That smoothness, that relaxation, that constant tempo with the breath is meditation. It is meditative, and it also has an amazing impact in the fact that we're actually getting more oxygen into the system, helping to regulate that pH of the blood, all those things we talked about, the benefits. So again, people have this idea about meditation is emptying your mind and thinking of nothing. It's not about thinking about nothing. That's a bit of a curveball, and that means a lot of people think they can't meditate. They try and empty their mind, and they never manage it, so they quit thinking, I'm no good at this. Okay, what it is it's being able to focus the mind in a particular direction that you choose. So it's having control over your mind, rather than just having this, like what they call the monkey brain, chattering constantly with no control, which is where that stress comes in. So it's being able to just stop, control the thoughts, focus on something, which means that it kind of brings that focus into your mind. In this case, we're concentrating on two things, aren't we? We're concentrating on our breath, and we're concentrating on our hand movements, okay, as well, in time with the breath. So they're perfectly in time as you go through those sections, you fill up and you empty. And that timing means that you're really focused on that, which means you're much less likely to focus on all of the other things that might normally just be constantly going through your mind, the chatter. Now, if that happens and you start to lose concentration, drift off, just like any meditation practice, that's fine. Just accept that and bring your attention back to what you were doing, okay? But the beauty of not just sitting still is actually you are more focused on those movements, so it's less likely to happen, which is why I really encourage, especially at the beginning, for people to do something in terms of focus on their breathing, focus on movements of the body, and that really helps you just think about that one thing and not all of the daily chatter and the stress that might normally go through your mind. So have a go with that. Feel free to drop any questions, any suggestions, any feedback into the comments boxes. But yeah, have a go at it. Have a play around with it. Take your time, relax. Give yourself 5 minutes a day even 3 minutes. You could do 10 of those in and out breaths and you'll already start to feel better if you do that consistently. Again, even if you're at the office, you can find a space where you can just go outside where no one's around and just do those breathing exercises. So it's something I do all the time regularly. I find it super beneficial. Loads of members, loads of my Tai Chi students and Qigong students do it and have massive benefits from it. And I know you will do too if you give it a chance and have a practice with it. It's something that you have to practice. It's something that you have to build constantly and get better at. Like anything good in life, that's something that we just have to do. So have a go. I hope you really enjoy it. It's lovely once you really start to relax and get that oxygen into the body. It can become kind of almost euphoric. So have fun. I hope it helps. I'll speak to you soon. Bye guys.